because I have planning that night.
All right, we're going to call this meeting to order of GenOps on Monday, July the 7th at 6:30 p.m. Commissioner Jones, would you mind saying the invocation, please?
Sure. Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for protecting us from the storms today, Lord. Pray that you just be with us as we do the county's business, Lord, and just watch over everyone here, Lord, and be with those with sickness or ailments that are going on that we don't know about, Lord. We know that you know, and you know you're the great physician, and you can heal all things, Lord. Just pray all these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Before we approve our agenda, Commissioner Miller had asked to add an item about Cottontown. What was that specifically, Commissioner Miller?
There was flooding and damage in northern Cottontown. What was it, about 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
3 weeks.
And
Do you
I just
remember
wanted to add that.
name of the street again?
Martin Lane.
Martin.
The bridge went on.
All right. So we'll call that flooding damage on Martin Lane. That's item E of the new business. If there's no
Item D.
D, my bad. Item D under new business.
What do you want to call it?
Flooding damage on Martin Lane.
F?
No,
D.
item D.
Not on new business. Not
New
old
business, thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Moss. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I will just point you guys to the attachments. One is from this one right here, the cover letter that Commissioner Klein sent out printed today. It's a little bit more details on the bridal house that's in your package, so it's just a supplemental. And also this colored one, rendering of Latimer Brown House is for our discussion when we get down to that under item 9B under new business. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. All right. Do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
It's a motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Janung. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. All right, recognition of the public. We have several speakers. First up, Mr. Kevin Baker. Name and address for the record, please.
Kevin Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road, Portland, Tennessee. First issue I'd like to talk about is the storybook trail. And I see there's a note here. The books to be displayed can be determined by Sumner County. I think if we're going to put money into this thing, we should make sure that we do pick the books and we do, have some input into what actually gets put out there for our children to read. I've never been to a Rotary Club meeting, don't know how they operate or whatever, but I think there should be some oversight. We've seen where we go off the rails sometimes. Of course, I hesitate to say who should do that because we can't seemingly get people on the library board and all that, but I'll leave it up to you folks. But I do think you should almost write that in. If we're going to spend money on maintaining it, we should have some input and specifically say, yes, we want oversight on that. So that was the first thing. The other thing is, I was surprised at the last county commission meeting where the resolution to clean up the trash out on Station Camp Creek got voted down for a constitutional, because it's a constitutional officer. But then I look and see that on the second, the mayor, and I wish you were here, the mayor actually instructed y'all on what to do. He said, well, still need approval and appropriation from the county commission with a defined scope of the work for the project. And so I don't understand why we couldn't have discussed it and he would have brought that up then and worked through this. Instead of just stringing this stuff along, we have an eyesore there. It just makes us look like second class, having that pile of crap, pardon my French, there. It sounded like the mayor was interested in getting it resolved, but then we drag it out. The one thing that I would say is I would take his instructions literal. Give him a dollar number. If he's not willing to say, here's $5,000, get it cleaned up, whatever, I don't know. But he gave you the blueprint, then it's incumbent on him to get it done. And then I'll be harping on him. I won't be bugging you. Thank you very much.
Baker. Up next is Mr. McClard.
Chairman Mansfield, I just saw the storybook thing was on there. Was that supposed to be pulled?
Well,
There was an email about
it's on the agenda.
it. Okay.
Mr. McClard, you got 5 minutes, sir.
Well, before I get started, just as I may need more time than that. I had a speech class when I was in college, and I had an A going into the final test, and it was a 5-minute speech. I ended up with a B because I talked 14 and a half minutes. So I'll just sit back, relax, I'll be over timing. No, I'm kidding, guys. It's not anywhere near that, but that story is true.
We'll have the reading of the codicil.
Yeah. No, I'm banned from that. That's Cindy's job. Of course, look forward to this. Hopefully this can be forwarded on. I sit down, nice rendering. I wish I could draw that well. So hopefully that can move on. I think we're gonna have some obstacles all along the way, but hopefully if we all stay civil, we can get that done. I totally think we need to help with the bridal house. I don't know how many of y'all have been out there, you probably all have, but if you haven't, you really need to go. Matter of fact, their next open house is July the 12th from 10 to 3. Then I think somewhere July something, they're gonna have another If These Laws Could Talk. It's on a Sunday, which is, I encourage all of you to go out there and support them, because they've done a great job. And hopefully this will be an added thing to that. I think history, I got interested in history when I was a junior in high school. We had that's when you took American history back in the ancient days. It wasn't near as much history then as there is now. But our history teacher, he was a great guy. Matter of fact, when we studied about the Battle of New Orleans, he sang Johnny Horton's song. The Battle of New Orleans, he sang it to the class. Every class that day he would sing it. And he really got me involved in history. And I think if we lose that, you know, the future generations, they're not going to know anything about it. I mean, and I'm afraid we're almost there now. But if we don't take care of it, you know, in another few years, it's going to be gone. It'll just be gone. And so anyway, I hope that can be pushed through. And the Cottontown debris, I mean, I can't, who doesn't want trash to be picked up? I don't understand that. So hopefully that can be forwarded. I kind of agree with Kevin here. He told you how to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClard. All right, Mr. Jim Latimer.
Jim Latimer, 1578 Latimer Lane, Hendersonville, Tennessee. Just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody that's participated in the home, trying to get it rejuvenated, get it brought back to life, and thanks for everybody's effort and the time that you spent to do it. And let's keep going. It's a big part of the history in the area right there, and a country that forgets its history is a lost country. They come untethered. So thank you all, each and every one of you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, Mr. Joe McLaughlin. Can you state your name and address for the record? 5 minutes.
Joe McLaughlin, 2238 Highway 25, Cottontown. I live 2 doors down from the Draper House. I've lived there for 39 years this August. It is an eyesore. It's been like that for going on 3 years. I didn't know that the county mayor had made any kind of response to the resolution until this gentleman said something about it. But I would like to remind you that he did not create that mess. County commissioners created that mess. And I appreciate a couple of commissioners trying to get money appropriated to get it cleaned up. I think it was too much. You can rent a 15-yard dumpster for a week for $400. This should have been cleaned up as soon as that project had been voted down by the commission. The commission rejected the resolution last month, I don't like the resolution. I think it's kind of vague. I don't like the fact that you all are trying to order the county mayor to clean up a mess that was made by the county commission. So it needs to be cleaned up. It's been there far too long. It's an eyesore. It's a disgrace to the county. Thank you.
All right, that concludes public comments. All right, report of the chairman, I have none. Report of the finance director. I'll ask this before you get started. Is it easier for us to ask questions or go? What is easier for you? One at a time or try to wait
figured the
until all?
main questions are gonna be
It seems like it goes faster when
a
you
couple
all
things,
come
but
back.
yeah. I'll leave the ones that I think are gonna be a discussion for the last. That way it's fresh on.
I'm gonna let Scott go through everything,
Okay.
and if you guys can withhold any questions, and then we can ask him, if you have a question, mark it down and we'll ask him. And that will let me take that, I'm gonna go smoother and faster, so.
Do you want me to leave out the recovery court stuff, since we're gonna talk about that in new business, or do you wanna talk about it?
I'll leave that to your discretion.
I'll just leave it out, we can
All
talk
right.
about it later. Okay. So for the archive roof, that project's complete. We've got the warranty, the mayor signed off on everything, and we sent out the retainage check last week. So that is completed. I'm gonna skip the next one. We'll talk about that last. Oak Grove Fire Department, they finished the steel framing. They're starting to put up them. They were supposed to start putting the metal panels up today to complete that building. The Franklin Street stormwater, we sent them the punch list. Should be done in the next 2 weeks. Courtroom build out, I'm waiting on Wold to give me the date next week that they want to meet to walk through with their design team and confirm their as-built.
Is that the one in the new courthouse?
Yeah. Health department remodel, the demo's complete. We're just waiting on a building permit at this point. They sent supposed to send corrections here. This week we have a meeting with the architect tomorrow morning. The broadband grant, we're in contract negotiations with CEMC still. The Hollows, they're finally doing all the utility relocation after NES put in their utility poles. For the SWIG, the city of Portland's in the process of finishing the water tower. We just did the state inspection and we passed that, so the project should be completed by October. In Westmoreland, they're supposed to break ground here in July. And then Drake's Creek in 258, they're making changes to the contract based on dates that we need to meet. On Thursday was the last day of the TDOT rep, so we have a new TDOT rep as of today. So I asked a couple of things, we're getting some clarification, and then once I get all that information, I'll follow up with an email to all you guys. Westmoreland EMS is now back in the process of the architectural review after it was decided to move the building down to the bottom of the hill. So, fire away.
Commissioner Klein, I know you'll have a question or a comment.
Franklin storm drain, the asphalt, last time we spoke, the asphalt was supposed to start this week, but it's not because there's a punch list?
Correct, and Gallatin's were.
Okay,
They're
so
part of the whole thing. So.
do we have any idea, after 2 weeks, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I would assume that third week if
Okay.
everything goes well.
Okay, Hendersonville Health Department, you're meeting the architect tomorrow?
Yeah, we have a meeting with them about one of their pay apps tomorrow, but we're also going to ask about their submission back to Hendersonville for their approval of their permit.
Okay, I'm really surprised that they did the demo without,
We had the demo permit.
I know, but usually you wait till the last minute before you,
But we
so,
had to knock it out.
so
because we have
how
to
far
break ground.
behind on the permit process of the building?
We just need approval from, I think it was codes and fire, and then it'll
Oh,
good to
okay,
go.
so
But
all,
they
all
sent it
the,
all back Friday, and we have a meeting with
all the
them
plan
tomorrow,
check
which
is
are
good and everything, okay, great. The water grant, okay, the SWIG, correct me if I'm wrong, the SWIG was the 4 streets in Westmoreland.
Correct.
And a tank and 2 streets in Portland, right?
Mhm.
SWIFT is what's being constructed up to 31E right now, right? Or are you even, okay,
Well, I'm not-
so that's the 20-inch line
Sure.
that was part of our grant that got taken away from us. Okay, so you have nothing to do with that?
No.
Okay. The renovation of the former General Sessions courtroom,
We're gonna talk about that.
okay, we're gonna talk about that, okay?
That's what it was.
I think
We'll
I'm,
save that for new business.
I think I'm good then.
The West one, can I talk about?
Yeah, I was gonna,
Yeah, we got
so,
this one moved it.
when you say, okay, the Westmoreland EMS, it's all the hot and trot and skies falling last fall on this one. And now it's in the process of another architectural review after deciding to move the building down to the bottom of the hill. Why did they move the building down to the bottom of the hill?
So there were pumps needed to push the water and keep the pressure. There was an issue with the water pressure and the sprinkler systems for the bays. One of the options was to shrink the bay and leave it up there. It would have cost, there was like a $800,000 change order that would go with it.
Didn't, Commissioner Janone, didn't you ask about water
Yes,
pressure
I
and supply about that site?
At the very
I asked about
beginning,
the site, because it was
right?
on top of a hill, and they already had problems with water pressure in Westmoreland in that area, and I said, how are you gonna get the water up the hill? Because you're gonna have to have a pump. It's kinda like the sewer, sewer goes down, water goes up. So I asked about that, and I'm not sure whose brainchild idea it was to buy the property on top of that hill and design a EMS station on top of that.
And what's your profession again?
Me, have a doctorate.
You're not an engineer though, right? You're not-
Wasn't that the question asked, that you weren't an engineer?
Yeah, well,
You're like a plumber, you're not an
My husband's
engineer.
He's a civil engineer. I have a lot of help from outsiders, trust me.
No.
So,
I'm just saying, if a regular citizen can,
yes, I'm
Figure
not an
this out and
engineer,
ask
but
ahead of time.
I have a husband who's a civil engineer.
this should have been known.
And this should have been known by anyone that builds buildings on top of hills.
Yep.
So it's common sense to know that if you're gonna build a building on top of a mountain or on top of a very high hill, you're gonna have to have water pressure pumps to push the water up. Now, if you live on the bottom of the hill and the sewer line is at the top, you gotta have a sewer pump to push the sewer up the hill. It's physics. So that was my point, is how much all of this shenanigans is gonna cost the citizens of the county, because people bought land without the county knowing that we bought the land. I mean, we were surprised as ever that we had bought land. Nobody knew about it, they just bought it.
That wasn't ideal for this purpose necessarily.
What, are we out any money? I mean, what are we out? What have we lost because
There's
of
gonna
this?
be a design change.
So far,
It's a theoretical wash, I think.
yes, right now, we did the change order for the architect to continue there so we can get the accurate pricing change for the contractor. Because contractor can't give you a price if he doesn't know exactly what needs to change. So it's $31,000 or something like that. I can get the exact number.
The ECO's for 31,000 right now?
Just for the architectural side. But it's supposed to be a complete wash, or
Have they done any site work at the top of the hill?
I believe so.
Okay, my other question is, since they've done site work.
Not actual site work, but
They've graded, there's a
grading,
pad.
yeah.
So my
clearing.
question, and they graded their pad, and you're gonna build a building at the bottom of the hill. Now, are we gonna have mudslides? Are there problems with that because they've already disturbed the top of the mountain or the hill? Are we gonna have a risk for that? Do we have to build a retaining wall?
All excellent questions.
I'm not an engineer, remember, I'm just a common sense person. Mud goes down the hill. So that's a danger to the EMS people, that if they're in a building, we have a big rain, and that disturbed top of that mountain gets disturbed and then the ground gets too weak, there could be a potential for a flash mudslide, and that could danger the building and the people in it. I'm just asking that because they need to review that and see if we have a danger of that.
Can we get a report back on that question?
And again, I'm not an engineer.
And there's also a deadline on this money,
Yes.
December 31st, 2026.
Correct. That's when it has to be all paid out.
Paid for or planned out?
Paid out. Paid out.
Project done.
Done.
Complete.
Inside the building.
That's 6 months.
26.
Okay.
It's just, this
But
is,
still.
this is just incompetence and failed leadership, is what that is.
Is this an action item?
No, just
Okay.
catching us by surprise. You said move the building down to the bottom of the hill. I'm like, what do you mean by move the building?
Another
After
FYI.
we went through all that grandstanding before.
The good news is they haven't started building.
One question on that. That land is bigger at the top where we're moving the building from, and it gets fairly
It gets
narrow.
pretty tight down there.
Is that gonna work?
Are they shrinking the size of the building?
I mean, I haven't seen
I
any
don't know yet.
conceptual designs or
So,
anything.
Yeah,
like that.
when I
reduce
get
the
more
size.
info from the architect,
Yeah,
I'll let you
maybe
guys
Maybe
know.
they won't fit a fire truck anymore.
Well,
Or two of them.
I mean, the building's 2 to 3 times as big as it needs to be for what it's doing.
But if that's the case, is it gonna be a refund of what we already allocated for it? Because it changed the scope?
Usually, changing of scope means more money, not less.
I know, so that's why I'm asking the question, because nobody may even consider to ask for that money back. I'm gonna go ahead and raise that question right here. Can you
If it
make
increases
sure?
the size of the
If the
footprint.
size of the footprint decreases, how much are we seeing back in savings? Because they realize they could do with a lot less than what they had planned.
I might not get that answer real soon,
Press for it.
but yes, I'll.
Are they still in that little old house down there in town? Are they still holding their ambulance down in that little house downtown?
Ooh,
Where
Chris,
they're
the new
holding it.
engineering change
But I
order.
would
I'm sure
assume
they are.
nothing's changed on
Weird.
their end.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, by our rules, we go over the scope of new projects. If the scope changes, is it coming back before this committee for us to approve again?
It's supposed to, of course.
Because it's gonna change the dollar amount up or down either way, and the size is gonna change. And we have to determine if if it meets the requested needs that we put out. So, I mean, I know the clock is ticking, but that plan has to come back to this committee, the new plan. So we gotta get answers to that and have it back on next month's agenda.
That's
Somebody
true.
needs a plan for that. It doesn't need to be 5 weeks from now and then it gets delayed to the next agenda, which is 8 weeks from now. We need an answer to that quick.
Yeah, and we did technically approve the last one. We had a gun to our head because of the time.
And it's gotta go to budget and then full commission and all that. If we're changing plans, that's not a new way to work around our rules that we created. It's still gotta go through this committee.
You might wanna, I think we need to review it a little bit. You might not be 100% correct there, so just wanna,
You think any ECOs just happen outside of the commission?
well, it's going through the finance department now, as far as that phase.
I understand that, but they can change the scope to change their bay sizes and you're talking about room sizes and everything changing in there. You're changing your needs package that we've already approved.
I'm not saying that you're correct or wrong right now, and I can't confirm that, so you can't make that definitive statement, as I'll say that, and I can't. give
Well,
you
I
a
asked the
definitive
question.
answer,
I
so-
was asking you. I didn't make a
Yeah,
statement.
but just, I will have to have Scott check up on that, as far as reviewing more of our policy. I've been so hyper-focused on 1A through 7 for most things we do versus the other 2 or 3 pages on, once it's approved and follows through, especially on a change of property. Property's already been purchased, architects have already been out, it's already been bid. I mean, you've already gone through all these phases.
It's been contracted.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so we're at the construction and renovation phase, correct? I mean, that's where we're at the end.
Technically.
But we just went back to
technically.
square one with possible change of scope.
That's a good question. It's like, how does this kick this back into loop based on our policy? That'd be a good question to find out. But I don't
Is
know.
that something you could find out and email either the chairman or just the committee so we can plan for next meeting?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, you can direct however you want that to go
Yeah,
out.
if you don't mind doing that.
And additionally, when you do get the first renderings of the site plan, could you forward those
Yes,
to us
I'll
via
send to the
email?
committee.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for the finance department? All right, we'll move on. Porter County Mayor seems that he is absent again.
He was just here too. You just missed him.
Old business, item 9A. Because we had linked it, the county mayor asked us to put this on the agenda last month. And I guess we got an email from the county mayor on Thursday night before 4th of July asking to remove it. The project's being reevaluated and presented at a later date. However, I have concerns, just some things were brought up from citizens as my own, as far as like, when we discussed this last month, what's the county policy? I know Hendersonville went through a process. I think we discussed last time, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, they were the ones that had to finalize and approve any types of books that were used for this type of display on city property. And so I don't think the county we presented any kind of instruction or resolution or process other than saying it. So I think it might be prudent for us to craft language in that manner that the county commission approves, has a final say for any, whatever this book of
Didn't
curriculum
we
is.
say that though in our meeting, when that lady came and talked to us, didn't we say that we needed to have the commission look and approve?
We did, but, we didn't make a motion and we didn't pass a resolution. I mean, and, people just do things willy-nilly around here or just don't do anything at all unless they're told and instructed by 13 votes. That's just how it works.
So is this a motion we should make?
I think it is, just to make sure that it gets carried forward, just that any I don't know what the language would be, but the spirit of it is that any type of reading material that is presented has to be approved by the full county commission for placement.
I make a motion that we make a resolution to require the storybook people to.
You want the reading list to be approved by the full?
Full county commission.
That's my motion.
It's a motion by Commissioner Janone. I'll second it. Commissioner Jones.
Is there a way to do that in the same spirit, but without it being book by book? Because that could get cumbersome and they want to change it. They have to wait a month for it to go through all the committees and they have 2 or 3 of these going on that they change at different times. Can we do it in an age-appropriate way of doing it, or?
Last month, they said that they would present a list,
I think it's 4 or 5.
Of anything possible?
just a list of books. And they're not, and they're getting changed out. I mean, it's not like you're gonna be voting on this every month. It's not a monthly thing.
As long as the list is approved ahead of time, then that would take care of it.
That's-
I didn't know
I
if it
think
was.
It was
I think
one book for each trail, I believe.
Yes, it was.
And it
could be
doesn't
changed
change.
once a year, once every 6 months. There was no set
Yeah,
time.
No,
on
they
it.
just
There's
rotate the
not
books
a-
amongst different trails.
Rapid frequency of changes,
Okay.
the way I understood it.
I think Commissioner Janone's motion satisfies the need.
Okay.
Simple enough. Just as basically saying that the full commission would approve what's age appropriate, what's appropriate for community, shares our community values.
That's fine, as long as it's a predetermined list.
All right, any other discussion on that?
Anybody second that?
I did.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Item B, do I have a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Janone. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Mr. Klein, you had originally brought attention to this a couple of months ago, and I think in our packet, and on the supplement on the website, were all the items Did you told me last week you were gonna call the mayor's office, the lady who did this inventory. Did you reach out to her?
I was too late to get to her. All of the stuff is on the county website.
Well, this is also to go to Gov Deals, things that did not get picked up by other.
Well, the thing is, there's a 60-day maximum on the stuff that is on the county surplus system. And I was looking at the county surplus system earlier today.
Has it been 60 days yet?
It's past 60 days now.
Okay, so now it can go to Gov Deals.
Right.
Fine. I guess there's nothing else other than just make a motion to approve this to go to full commission for Gov Deals.
Are we talking about
Item 9B, status of inventory.
just the inventory?
Second it.
Yeah, because that's pages 26 through 33 and all the photos.
And
are all
you say
on that
this
website.
list was already posted?
Yeah, it's right here. It was posted on
Okay, I'll just make that a part of it.
April 8th.
So this just needs to be basically moving on to full commission for the
Okay.
Gov Deals, for us to move it to approve it for that auction. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner
Second.
Miller, second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we can strike that off of the agenda.
Is there any reason we're keeping Storybook Trail on?
No, we're gonna remove that from the
Okay.
agenda. We'll send that just as a resolution, just making a notation. All right, item 9C, archive building extraneous storage cleanout. Motion for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Miller. Second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Commissioner Klein, you had, I guess after our last discussion, you had said that I think the IT department as well as the planning department had already started moving their junk out of that,
They
that
have.
space.
And I met with Mark Smith, who has about 78 four-drawer cabinets, file cabinets, and a whole bunch of cardboard boxes. He's fine to move them over to the new courthouse. He doesn't have the personnel to do it. So that will be the subject that we need to discuss most. I also talked to Sheriff Craddock. They do have room over in the vacated areas in the jail that they could put it in. You know, they didn't have room before. And his would be the same situation. He doesn't have the personnel to move it. I have reached out to Catherine Strong and I haven't heard back from her yet. I did walk the entire 4th floor of the new courthouse. Mark Smith already has the equivalent of one of the 4 courtroom areas where he's taken great liberties in space, and he agrees that he could consolidate it and probably get all of those 78 cabinets and everything else in the area that he currently has. That leaves 3 times that amount for the 250 roughly cabinets that Catherine Strong has over in the archive building. I can't imagine that she would not want them closer to where her office is. She also has storage area in the basement of the new courthouse that may be able to be used as well. So that's the vast majority of what's there. Sheriff Craddock told me that he thought they had 2 of those, what I call bullpens, full of his stuff. And then the big one that is, I believe, number 4 that Mark Smith has the 78. And then the whole balance of the area where it's not bullpens, it's Catherine Strong's, roughly 250 cabinets. I think everything else probably would go down in the basement here. We could have that cleaned out as soon as we can get people. Commissioner Moss was the one who was overseeing the stuff that Mark Smith took from the old courthouse to the new courthouse. I would suggest we hear from him explaining what kind of work that is involved there if we were to take it from the archive building to the new courthouse.
We're gonna get some trustees.
Yeah, it was just you and trustees, right?
It was me, Brian, one of the maintenance guys, and about 6 trustees.
Okay.
So that'd be the help right there, get you trustees.
That's great.
So
We got a trailer.
Yeah, no call that. Commissioner Jones?
is that up for us to pass something out of here saying for it to be done? Or
Well,
have we already done that and we make the suggestion about the
I mean, I'll just
trustees?
go ahead and clarify statements that, incorrect statements that have already been made earlier, but, TCA 5-5-121 says the powers of the county legislative body says we have the power to erect or control and dispose of public county buildings and hold suitable sites for offices as may be deemed expedient by the legislative body, and that these county buildings are to be erected and kept in order and repair at the expense of the county under the direction of the county legislative body. No other authority, no other constitutional officer has authority over county buildings except for the county legislative body, as far as direction, control, taking care of things. So it would be our job, it's the county mayor's job, to take care of custody of county property under direction and supervisory control of the county commission. That's his job as a constitutional officer. And so it would be his department that would be instructed by the county commission to have, county staff and trustees and asking the sheriff and work with them to have these things moved. Otherwise, if they don't want to do that, when it costs the taxpayers money, then we'd have to actually go to budget, hire, put out unnecessarily, cost taxpayer funds for something that we get trustees to do.
So I asked that question to see if we had already passed something last month. I knew.
We did not.
Well, I
We
knew
just
that
discussed.
Commissioner Klein went and researched this on what needed to move and what could be moved and things like that, and he's done a great job with that. So at this point, do we make a motion to say, yes, get it moving, and then pass that to the full commission and trust that the mayor's going to get that done by the way of the trustees or whoever he deems necessary? What's the actionable item here right now? So I'm ready to move on that. Like, let's do it.
I mean, you saw what
He came
happened
up
last
with the
month. This committee, Commissioner Klein brought up Cottontown debris. It's been on the agenda for several months. We just simply asked the county mayor if he could just, hey, can you just take some guys with a trailer? I mean, it's not more than a trailer to of junk that's of no cost to the county, and go take it to the resource authority, dump it off at no cost to the county. County mayor didn't do it, sent back, said I need it, it might be $25,000. Sent a ridiculous email saying he was anticipating $25,000 to move the debris of Cottontown. And so gave us a memo last month that was read by citizen comment, saying I need instruction from the county commission. So the county constitutional officer asked us for instruction, which is what the law says. We gave that instruction to resolution, and the commission voted to remove that from the agenda, foolishly, in my opinion, last week. And so here we are back again to address the same problem. So I just don't understand. I don't. My brain can't comprehend the utter absurdity of the matter. So to answer your question is, I don't know why we have to go through such foolishness and just incompetence at this level of just doing the right thing and cleaning up property or moving. Why does it have to be a fight just to, hey, put stuff on a trailer, let's move it down, we got storage down here, clear it out, prepare space.
Well, I still say we should
I mean, we can
pass
do it,
something
but
out of here and
I'm not guaranteeing
plan for.
results.
I want to plan for debate. If it gets pulled off the agenda, we debate that. It was kind of took me by surprise too. I was not prepared to debate an item on the agenda getting pulled off that seemed very reasonable. But I'll say we still put it on the agenda. So do we need to do that by pass a resolution here saying that? Because this is clearly not our direction to clean out that building and make space.
It's the county commission's job to say, hey, this is what we're going to use that for this space, and that's TCA code. It's not much any more plain than that. I know.
So resolution or
I guess. I mean, that seems the only thing. If we want to, and then let citizens know how their elected officials want to vote on these things of cleaning out property. mean, if you want to make a motion, I'll entertain.
No, I make a motion that we direct, well, I gotta be careful with how I say that we move forward with cleaning out the archives building of all the items identified by Commissioner Klein to make space.
I don't have a problem with just asking the county mayor to do it, using county staff, county resources, free of charge at no cost to taxpayers.
Do we want to include to make space for what, or just to clean it out?
Well, we don't know what yet, but the important thing is that why that became a dumping ground for historic and documentation that must remain in perpetuity. That's the one thing you have to understand, is the stuff in those filing cabinets we can never get rid of. And so it only, right now, people from the new courthouse come over here multiple times a week to retrieve stuff from there, and then they have to come back and put it back. It doesn't make sense that they have to travel
When they have all that space.
when they have all that space. The only reason it's there is because they didn't have the space at the old courthouse, and they didn't have the space at the jail in the sheriff's case. So now we have space. Things have changed in 10 to 12 years. And so it's prudent, and it's cost effective, and it'll be much more efficient to have that documentation in the same building where it's required. And so on that basis alone, it should be moved.
Eric, did you write down my motion?
And it was never finalized anything.
Question.
Yeah, we're not dealing with just one elected official here either. We got the sheriff, we got the clerk, court clerk, we've got the master who's basically running through Judge Oliver or Chancellor Oliver. So
Has Commissioner Klein talked to all of them?
I've talked to Mark. I've talked to Eric Craddock. I tried to talk to Catherine Strong Thursday, but she was not there. So I sent her an email today, and I'm waiting to, I was checking my emails to see if she'd responded back yet. So.
Would it be possible to go ahead and talk to all those people he mentioned?
Yeah.
By the time this comes before the whole commission, so we'll have answers for
Yeah.
when those questions come up, because people are going to be offended on somebody's behalf and say something.
Yeah, we're talking about the 28th. I can talk to all of them by then.
And then we'll be able to answer those questions when they come up.
Mr. Lawler.
I'm thinking the better direction is to go to each elected official and say,
That's-
get your stuff out.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying.
But if you're looking for a resolution to craft, that's the kind of resolution I think needs to come out. It's not a resolution for the mayor saying, hey, take this stuff to these other elected officials. They need to coordinate with the mayor if they want to. I think that's the
I see.
path of
You're-
least resistance.
You're saying the path of least resistance to go to them and say, we need you to get your stuff out of there.
Uh-huh.
Reallocating that space.
But is that by decree of this committee or commission, or is it by request of an individual? Or how do you do it?
If it's a resolution, it's by act of the commission, and you're saying that you allocating the use of this space, which you have authority to do, therefore you need to get your stuff out. You've got authority to do that, and then it places the burden of the actual move on that elected official.
So change the motion to notify these constitutional officers that we plan on allocating this space for something else, and notify them to remove their stuff from the storage area.
Commissioner Miller.
That's my
I think
motion.
we ask first, and then if they don't comply, then we do a resolution next month. That's,
My recommendation is going to push this to August. That's what my recommendation
yeah.
is.
I say start something between now and then.
Well, I will talk to everybody in between that time. I discovered a lot of different things in this last month than I thought.
Well, and they don't need a resolution to move their own stuff now.
Right,
So,
right. So we could avoid the resolution
No,
altogether.
well, it's gotta be something though, otherwise it's just Commissioner Klein asking them to move it. It has
my
to be
point is,
by
if he
an
makes
agreed-
headway, they can, well, no, the sheriff can go get his stuff. It's his stuff.
I understand that, but the-
Planning and IT have already gotten their stuff just because of our discussion last month, before we even asked them.
Yeah.
They did it voluntarily, before we even asked them, just because we discussed it at this table.
Well,
I'm
okay.
just saying. So,
If y'all wanna try that route, I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with, I think we ought to,
I'll withdraw
you
my
know, see,
motion.
we've made progress since last month. Let's see how much more progress we can make in August. But at the end of the day, it is the county legislative body's statutory authority to designate space, which includes storage space. So, I mean, we can just, we can ask, but then we can also tell. And that is what the law, so Tennessee state law says this body can do for their stuff, for constitutional officers. We have authority over their space. So that's no big deal
Okay.
We have one more month in this committee
for now.
to tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think without any objection, we keep this on old business and just, I mean, we made progress, so. All right, well, we're just gonna keep this. Old business for August. All right, item D, this is for discussion from Millersville EMS station reconfiguration status. I don't think we have any more solutions on this. I don't know if we're gonna have a solution on this. We're gonna make a recommendation to build a building or buy a trailer. I don't think it's worth discussing and beating this dead horse over and over again, to be honest with you.
Have we heard anything from Millersville?
No. I'll make
Have
a
they
motion
passed-
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Commissioner Jones?
have they passed their budget yet?
No.
That's what everything's gonna determine when they start the ball rolling on their budget. To be stay tuned to that point. So are we saying we're just gonna keep on renting that trailer until we know something concrete?
Well, the problem is, it doesn't matter what they do or don't do, we gotta keep renting that trailer.
I know.
Because
Or
if they-
buy it.
If they fix that room, it's still gonna take a month to do, we gotta rent the trailer.
But we don't know the timeline until they make a decision.
We might rent that trailer for another 6 months or a year. I don't know. And
We'll
that's
own
what
it
it's like.
twice.
Have we continued, we've already spent at least over $40,000 at this point on renting that trailer that we could have bought at this point. And we know it's a trailer that doesn't have sewer or water. We know it's a trailer they don't use the bathroom in. So they got a trailer that was way over for what they needed it for, and they don't use it for.
And it was very unique in the fact that it had 2 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms.
Yes, of which they go inside to use the
All they
bathroom.
needed was a
And that was
place to
confirmed
lay
last
down.
month.
Yes.
It was a waste of.
By their fire department,
Yeah.
fire chief.
Yeah, so we know that. So the question is, knowing that the EMS will be evicted from that space eventually, whenever Millersville finds more money, however they're gonna raise their revenues. And so the county's going to have to build a new building, but add on to the building, build a separate building. County's got to do something, or buy a trailer. And if you're gonna have a trailer as a permanent facility, which people won't be happy about, you still have to have water and sewer hookup, which does not exist there. So you're talking about building. So those are your solutions. So something's gonna have to happen. It's not a matter of if it's gonna happen, it's when it's gonna happen. So,
At this point, no matter what happens, we're gonna be renting that thing for another year, so it just seems like we should buy it.
Unless it takes them a couple months to renovate that room.
That's a crapshoot.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We don't know the timeline until they make a decision.
Right.
And we won't know the decision until next month, so at the earliest, when their budget passes.
Is that when their budget passes, is next?
Well, he said it hasn't passed yet, so I'm assuming it's gonna be next month.
June is when all governments pass their budgets.
Yeah.
I mean, so,
Typically.
or end of June. So I don't know if they passed it yet or not. I mean, we've gone into almost August. The county has to have it done by August 31st. So we're in a continuation budget right now. I don't know what any of the cities in this county have done.
So should we leave it on the agenda to discuss next month, or?
I don't know. But something needs to be done at some point.
Can we leave it on there and
We can.
maybe we'll reach
I
out to
think we should
Millisville,
drop
see
the
what
hammer on
they're.
it next month,
Okay,
one way or
well,
the other.
without objection, let's just keep that on old business, until we can figure out what the solution we need to do. It looks like our decision-making at least is gonna need to be on a trailer. Do you buy it, or do you just keep renting in perpetuity at this point? Knowing, like, what's the timeline on getting that room built and constructed? So, all right. Item E, Latimer Brown House restoration. I'll go ahead and make a motion for approval to move on to budget.
Second.
All right, open for discussion. Basically, it's not as pretty as a packet that we'd hoped, but, you know, we've been working hard for several months on this issue, a long time. Y'all should have this packet that I emailed to you this weekend. Sorry, didn't get a chance to get it. This is something that Commissioner Klein had gotten to our finance department, legal department back on June 16th. There were some items requested from finance, just one or two things requested back that we didn't get back till last week. We didn't have time to get the holiday meet the agenda. So just cover page, this is just an architect, just kind of a watercraft rendering that I was able to work up using some tools of what the Latimer Brown house could look like, you know, basically based on the structure that exists now with a red roof that exists now. You know, they, Will and Cottle, this packet basically includes a cover letter of how we feel this fulfills our resolution that we passed in November on a construction renovation policy. Obviously, the codicil of Mr. Brown's last wishes was for this to be maintained in the centerpiece of a park. I do have the two resolutions in the back of this packet that we passed saying that we've established this as a park, so that's happened twice. It's got the need and purpose of what's happening. In this packet, obviously, is a budget, a total budget cost as best as possible. We've discussed in the ad hoc committees over the past several months. And special thanks to Commissioner Klein and Mr. Coker of History Renovations, or still, what's his, Century Renovations.
Yeah.
Mr. Coker, I'm doing all the work. As you know, we've approved a lot of work to be done, preliminary work of exposing the elements in the house to see what we're dealing with structurally, to even know how to quote this for this restoration and renovation repair of this historic home. So we've got a budget and a timeline here, and I can let Commissioner Klein speak to that in a second. We also have just kind of these are some rough drawings. These are not to scale necessarily, and not architectural official design drawings of, we have discussed as far as the home, discovered different portions of the home built at different times. Obviously, the main part, if you're, I don't think, David, we didn't label this like we did previously on this floor drawing, but near the front door is the oldest part of the home, but it's the part of the home that has probably, like, the flooring is not the original, ironically. And the back part of the home was probably added on in the 1820s, 1830s, and that part of the home actually has original flooring from there. So, you know, we discussed different types of materials and what we wanted to do to keep cohesion, knowing that it's going to be as close to, but not an exact replica of, you know, bringing a truly lived-in historic functional home up until 8 years ago, exactly like a bridal house. A gentleman lived in it until 2019 when he died, and then it was gifted to the county, and the county renovated it. And so we're looking at the same kind of thing here. It's a bigger home, I believe, in that case. So what we did discuss in the ad hoc as far as like the floor plan, there is kind of a back porch that's covered right now that's a kitchen, is exposing that back out to being a covered porch like it originally was. There is a bathroom in there, and we did talk about cutting that, leaving that off, letting that be like just a big enough bathroom that would be wheelchair accessible, you know, from the outside, from somebody coming from the ground level, if they're a ramp or something, to access the bottom of the home. There is going to be some woodwork needing to be done with structural beams cut that are similar in front, because the windows, what they did is they just literally to put in the new windows. I say new windows were probably done in the early to mid 1900, early 1900s probably, 1920s, 30s probably they cut those windows.
It's hard to say.
Well, the original windows, if you look on this drawing right here, well, kind of, they're a little further out. This is obviously not to scale. This is an watercolor artist rendering. But the windows are a little further out to the sides on these types of homes. There's a fort in Knoxville that looks the same. And Mr. Latimer, Jim had found that really was spot on with what this home looked like. But the windows were cut in closer, and they closed off the old windows, and they just literally saw through the logs, and it wasn't even structurally done well. So the idea to make this structurally sound is you have to cut new beams. So that obviously is not period, or it's close, but that would be the kind of structural stuff. And this covers, a lot of this budget does cover those types of items on, especially the woodwork and the restoration of that and all the chinking, foundational repairs. Obviously we're going to have the HVAC and electrical and bring things up to modern convenience and I guess compliance for functional use. The question was asked, like, how would this home be used? This is not like the Douglas Clark House, which was used from a grant and a grant funded that. And whereas part of the grant was that they had to hire somebody full-time for that to be open full-time. I do not believe, and the committee did not believe, it's not the recommendation that this house be like that, do what the county has done with the Bridal House, that it would be, obviously, to be managed by the county or managed by Friends of the Bridal House, Friends of the Latimer House group, which I think is being formed to kind of have that model that exists with the Bridal House, kind of replicate that model. It seems to work pretty well and could do the same thing. So it's open not all the time to the public, and would be no cost to the county other than just maintenance and upkeep, not to hire staff. It can be used for events and weekends, just kind of like what the Bridal House does for different things, which has been a very good model. I think this works just fine, and for doing events, and was spoken by a citizen tonight. So that was kind of the intended access use of what this building would be available and used for. So there is, I guess we're still finding out as what defines ADA compliance on an existing home that's being renovated, not new construction, even though it's being used for a county building. We might have to, I don't know if we'd have to limit the upstairs use to the public, since it wouldn't necessarily, we don't have an elevator, and would not recommend doing that. Just like the Douglas Clark House, nobody goes up in that. Bridal House, people do go upstairs in the Bridal House. It's not ADA compliant, but it's a county building, county renovated, so I don't see why it couldn't be the same as that. But I'm just kind of throwing out some questions or caveats that people have asked. So this basically goes through all of the costs, and Commissioner Klein felt, working with Mr. Coker just as a period expert. Mr. Coker's worked on the Bridal House and worked on Bledsoe Fort, worked on, what's the home in Gallatin? We discussed. Rosemont, Wildwood, something called Wallspring. And these are all early 1800s historical homes that he's renovated in Sumner County, and so he's been a very good period expert. Again, he works on the Bridal House. He does all the work at Bledsoe's Fort Historical Park, on the stone cottage and log cabins out there from the 1700s and earlier. So this budget, they feel, is really top max budget. I mean, our total budget is $587,000, and roughly we've got $583,000 left to spend on this. And so right now, even with architectural and engineering estimates of really no more than $35,000 max, we think still the total budget's at $507,000. So we're still pretty, $70,000 under budget for what we think, which gives us room. And that's even with a contingency of 10%. We're still $70,000 under budget of what we actually have to spend, of what was left to us, bequeathed to us by Mr. Brown's estate. So I think we're in a really good spot here on this. This packet includes, obviously, just a preliminary sketch of what a parking lot, using a cut through that we discussed, going over the culvert and connecting to the old driveway, and then having whether it's a gravel parking lot, or if we have to have a paved spot and for an ADA compliant parking spot to be able to do ramps, concrete ramps or wood ramps going up into the building, which would be fine and very customary, commonplace, nothing earth-shaking there. Mr. Coker's kind of resume, which we've had this in packets before. Cover letter from Mr. Varble, which is an architect who's done a lot of things. He built the Gallatin Civic Center. A lot of experience on building structures. Mr. Klein, I reached out to him. I found him. I'm not sure how you found him, Mr. Klein, but I've never heard of him before.
I found him through Robin Hood. Rob?
Okay, another architect to recommend. Mr. Hood does commercial, and he recommends him for more on the residential renovation type side.
Yeah.
So he's given kind of high-level cost of things and really of his professional opinion, and a letter here saying that the fee shouldn't be any more than $30,000 for this house. Honestly, to be honest, the discussion that came out of the ad hoc is that we don't need an architect. It's really, if you wouldn't get an architect if the government weren't involved. The only reason we're having to do this is because some lobbyists came down to the Capitol who are architects and got the government to pass a law that says make sure everybody's got to use an architect, and that's really what we come down to. And so, because we have to have an architect, we're padding in an extra $30,000 for him, and he really can't. It's not like something that's unique. You can go out and just, let's get an architect and then do something. No, the architects can't even tell you what they could even do until we start exposing things, and then he can come in. So this is not one of those, unfortunately, okay, this is just so nice and neat. We can let's go bid out and get an architect, get a quote, and then just start doing stuff. It's kind of a reverse process in this case of we're peeling back an historic home, and then you're going to consult an architect because there is going to have to be a support beam down the lower floor that sign off on the architect and engineering structurally, where they actually cut through the logs and built a dining room, and so the beam does sag a little bit from that second floor, you can see. So that's where the architectural and engineering would come in, and that type of structural issues, and probably with the windows and the new logs coming across. But they are at the point, and this architect had been out there once or twice, and it wasn't something he could quote on yet until more was revealed, and that's part of the process. And so when I say we've looked at our policy, I feel we have followed our construction and renovation of county-owned buildings and lease policy items 1A through 7 specifically, as far as possible as we can go before it becomes a chicken and the egg situation. So Mr. Varble has provided just obviously his resume. Obviously we have the codicil, last will and testament, asking what's the intended purpose. It's very clearly stated here. And then our 2 resolutions that we passed of the county commission designating this space for these purposes. And a photo collage of Mr. and Mrs. Brown at the very end. Just keep a reminder, this is thanks to their generosity, and I want to keep them at the forefront. Obviously, once we get along, the intent is once this construction project takes place, and when you start talking about the details of the goodies, we had the lady from the Douglas Clark House that's the full-time staffer that runs it. To bring good ideas of when you actually start telling the historic story, and you have panels in there and have the nice lighting, and that's going to be part of the storytelling aspect visually. So anybody who visits the facility can read that. We'd also want to have something to honoring Bill and Martha Brown as well, some kind of plaque or something, and their generous donation here, and giving honor to them, as well as the Latimer, Colonel Latimer and his family building this. I do think, and I think we discussed, but in my opinion, if we're to name this, it should be the Latimer House at the William and Martha Brown Memorial Park, because it is the Latimer home, and it was for 200-something years, was in the Brown home. We've just been calling that recently, but I think when we get to that part, if we get to that part, suggestion is to call it the Latimer House at the William, and just like the bridal house is called the Bridal House at the Gentleman's Names Park. The exact same model the county commission's done already. So this is where we're at with this so far. Commissioner Klein and myself believe it's ready to push the budget. We've spoken with the finance department and the law department. I don't know if Scott has any questions about this or any concerns, if anything, before we push the budget. The goal is to push the budget for their meeting next week.
I have a question.
Commissioner Janelle.
So in looking at the costs for I think it's a great idea, I love this, but, I saw here, the downstairs bathroom rework was $2,000. They were gonna just rework the bathroom, you're gonna have to have a bathroom there for
Yeah.
public.
There already is a bathroom, and that's what we're
But
Yeah,
going
it's
have to
already
have-
built.
I know, but will you have to have two, one for males, one for female?
No,
No.
it'd be a
Okay.
guess for
Or that
everything.
answers that question. The other question I had is I noticed that we're taking out, I know you were gonna remove the kitchen and all that, that's gonna be removed, and it's not gonna be part of the house?
Mhm.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also, so I'm thinking about renovation, you know, like we build a house anyway. So you've already got a bathroom that you're gonna renovate, you think it's gonna suffice, cause you've got plumbing that's gonna be taken care of.
The Grotto House has one bathroom and it's downstairs.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that we don't fall into a tracker. And then you're removing the kitchen, that's gone. You
Yeah.
don't
So
need
remove-
cabinets or anything,
Right.
so,
And a lot of that stuff was the more modernized stuff that doesn't look right anyway, so
None of it is
it made
destroyed, like-
sense.
he has HVAC, first floor total removal, but I don't see HVAC replacement for it.
Right here, last
On the
section,
bottom.
into the construction.
Okay. Okay, I just had some, I was just reviewing.
Yeah,
this.
no, shoot it full
For
of holes,
modeling a house.
because this is a budget that we're gonna have to stick with, so any,
I got a question.
Commissioner Jones?
The kitchen part, are you talking about removing the interior of the kitchen or cutting off the back? half
no,
of it?
just removing the cabinets.
That's what I thought.
And fixtures.
Gutting the kitchen, basically.
Yeah.
So no plumbing in the kitchen either?
You know,
Maybe.
it'll be there, we'll abandon it in place,
Okay,
so.
I just wondered if you're gonna have any countertops for people to lay anything on.
I mean,
Possibly.
and that's, I mean, we've got room in the budget.
Sure.
If, you know, it was decided that you wanted to have like a little utility kitchen, and I'd say a group wanted to come in there and use it, you know.
Maybe leave a
like
sink or
if
something.
I, you know, might be used for a family gathering or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a utility sink, kitchen area, I think would be probably prudent, but, and there's spaces there for that. But this basically is addressing, specifically tearing out all of the non-period, like just all the layers of extraneous stuff to get back down to it. You know, we know you need a bathroom, kitchen is debatable, but I mean, Mr. Klein, let you speak to that as far as an addition.
Yeah, you know, part of it is we've still got so much to uncover
Right.
to see what needs to be done. You know, we're gonna have to remove the brick on the outside, the skin on the walls on the inside. The architect will be able to come in and go, okay, this is all great, I gotta deal with that 12-foot opening that, where they took the logs out and the underpinning under the floor, but other than that, you know, we're good to go. And, you know, we have stated that we want to use drywall, put drywall back. Chris Coker is lamenting that and saying, you know, it really wants to be wood, lath, and plaster. I think I can do it. I think I can do it cost effectively. We'll see. Because that would be actual period, would be
Yeah, if you
wood,
put
lath.
drywall on, you defeated the purpose.
Right.
Well, we did discuss, I mean.
There's room in there for all that.
There's room in there for all that. You know, I've got $100,000 in log replacement. I don't think I'm gonna need it. My next door neighbor's a timber cutter. He's been cutting down poplars in 4-foot diameter recently. And he runs across those fairly frequently. So he just said, you tell me what you need and I'll get it for you.
The only thing I ask, and I'm just one person, one vote, and I'm not an engineer, is that.
But your husband is.
That's right. Making it clear. That this be, if if I walk in there and I see this home, that I see the home as it was in 1700s,
That's
okay?
what we're trying for.
The period of that, and not, because I have old homes that have been added on, and you try to start pulling stuff out, if we could just make it like that, because the education that will come from it
Mhm.
will be tenfold. I mean, it probably would be a premier place, but that was my question about I'm glad you're removing those things, because they're probably from the 50s.
It's paneling.
Yeah, and so, but I think if you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna put back, period, look, not,
Right.
you know, leave it bigger stuff. So I think it's wonderful. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here.
I want you to be the devil's advocate.
Yeah,
And
we
that's
just,
all I have.
we just didn't spend $100,000 coming up with a packet. You know, this is
No.
just me and
Great.
Commissioner Klein just,
Really nice.
I could spend the time, I just haven't had the time to make it pretty. I do have the skills and talents to do that, but this is for the sake of being prudent and requiring the need, and trying to give a little bit of a visual of, so I wish it could be a prettier packet that was prettier designed and laid out, so apologies.
The one thing that it's done, just remind everybody, if you're reminded that you've come a long way, because I came in on the end of this, but you've come a long way, that you all have done something to a man's wishes and his will that is going to be a center stone for the citizens of this county for years to come. And you all were a part of that, and knowing and being very diligent and very pushy, which I like, about what you see is right for this piece of property, because otherwise it would have turned into a circus place. So I commend all of you. I want to say that on record. I commend everybody in this room about that, because you took a lot of grief, and you guys worked really hard, and they have a light now at the end of their tunnel.
We pray and hope so. I mean, I think, you know, this property sat abandoned for 8 years. We've seen what's happened to other properties that have sat abandoned for a long time, like the Bradford Berry House in Hendersonville, which is kind of sad to see that historic home pretty much falling down. And I fear, had this and citizens have expressed that they think this might have burned down, and somebody gets in there, kids messing around, smoking cigarettes or lighting fires and having fun and on school property that easily just might not even been there had we not taken action. So, I think it's a good thing that we're brought attention to that, to dying man's wishes and feeling it's costly. So I think it's great for the family members, and it's going to be beautiful. Mr. Coker does fantastic work, and I think this will be a beautiful showpiece for Upper Station Camp Creek area and the citizens, and to the historic area when we have the means, we have the plan, and we have the ability to do something about it and not just kick it to the curb. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a beautiful project, a beautiful home, and I hope we can see it to the fruition. Hope the commission will approve
I think
it.
history is extremely important for our community. My husband and I owned the depot in Gallatin for years, and that is a very historical piece of property. And if it was been a fire, we had a fire in there, but with the 1950s fire system we had, it took care of the fire like it was supposed to. It was not your fancy pant one. It was the 1950 one that took care of it. But it's the history of the building. It's the wood. The building talks to you. You can hear it, you can feel it, and that's the beauty of the historical things that we have in our county. I'm a firm believer that, I may have a lot of money one day, and I don't know what I'll do with it, but I certainly won't be giving it to the
Do not leave money to Sumner County, whatever you do. Well, I want to thank you guys. I mean, I want to thank Commissioners Jones and Klein, especially for your hard work on all this, and I want to thank our ad hoc and citizens for being on ad hoc, and our ad hoc, we've got it through next year, and I do anticipate us continuing to meet as ad hoc and addressing questions that come up. So we do have regularly scheduled meetings every month. We didn't meet end of June, so we had basically twice, almost in May and beginning of June. But I do see our ad hoc will continue to give input and try to get more community input from other historic societies as this project hopefully moves along. I'm hoping the budget committee will pass it on to the full commission, and I'm hoping the full commission would approve it to get started without delay, because that's what the money's for, and we have a plan for it to get going. And we have competent people that can do the work that I would win the projects as we get through that process. So I want to thank you guys for all your time and effort showing up every month since last August, September, steadfastly. So thank you guys for your persistence. Scott, did you have anything to add? All good? Well, we got a motion to approve. It's in the budget.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Yeah, we have a second.
I'm ready to vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously to send to the budget committee. Does anybody have an extra copy? I'm gonna give this to Jennifer, but I do want a copy for myself. So
I'll get my notes on.
okay, I'll get one. I don't think we have
Here's
any
good.
extra. Here.
Oh, we got extra.
Take it for that.
Minutes.
Like,
And if we can make a note that get this on budget from next Monday, so pushing that forward.
This is in the online package, though.
Yeah, it was added, should have been added as
The commissioners
supplemental.
can view it.
Yeah, it should have been added as supplemental, but, I mean, it should be with, forwarded to the budget committee. I'll be glad to do that, so.
It will be.
I had put it together, basically, I had sent it to them as a zip file with all of these files numbered in order, so it's not like this isn't like a PDF that gets in, it's a multiple files, so.
But they'll have the printed out version to look at.
That is the
at
goal,
budget.
yes.
I
I'm
would
gonna
like
ask
to
the
make
law
sure
director's
that.
office to make sure that, and Scott.
No.
And then also for commission night, if it makes it that far.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to put something together prettier, time permits.
That's pretty good, Jerry.
I just think it's very functional.
No, I'm not talking about the render, I'm
Okay,
talking about a
so-
package.
That's what I mean, I
This
think
is just
it's,
stapled together document.
Point it forward.
but, I think
We
it does
voted.
the job.
All right,
Let's go.
item 10A, new business bridal house repairs. I'll make a motion to approve. Another second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Klein. Open the floor for discussion. Commissioner Klein, do you want to just explain this request?
Yeah, what happened was Jeremy and I were talking to Chris Coker after one of our meetings here, and he had mentioned that he was giving Jane Wright a price on the re-chinking of the bridal house, because it was looking pretty bad, and there's some pictures in here. And so she'd asked Chris to do it, because she'd seen what he had done over at the Bledsoe Fort, and there are before and after pictures of Bledsoe Fort, and it's pretty impressive what it looked like before and what he's done to it. So he and I were talking about the budget one day, and I said, hey, so when are you starting the bridal house? He said, well, I'm not. Jane called me and told me that they wanted to wait till a later time, and I said, why? And he said, I don't know. He said, because you can see daylight through some of the chinking and stuff. And I said, well, this has to go through general operations, because this is a county property. I think we should just go ahead and move it. And he said, well, great, I'll send you a quote. And that was a little rough, so we had him refine it a little bit. And so I have spoken to Jane Wright over the weekend twice, and what she had said to me was that there may be some grants coming available for this kind of work. She doesn't do the grants, she's got somebody in their group that does. And so I told her, I said, well, this isn't gonna happen overnight as far as getting it through the county commission, and there's no guarantees that we can get the money allocated, so why don't I go ahead and do that? You work on the grants simultaneously, and if the grants come, because they have a very slow couple of months in December and January. And that's awfully cold too, and I don't know how that's gonna set with Chris to be mixing cement and putting it on outside when it's 2 degrees.
There's a lot of good days, though, too.
Well, I tried to ask Mr. Klein after Chris told us that, can you get the information, let's put it on this agenda, because, I mean, this is a county building, and the county owns the property, and it does need upkeep and maintenance, and we have an old home, a historic home, a log home, with chinking going apart, a lot of things that go bad fast, and so, when it comes to, especially, in that area. So, obviously, I think it's prudent that we move forward with this. It's in the budget for.
Yeah, so last night she texted me and said, hey, I wrote something that maybe you want to put in the packet, and that's what is right here. She basically says exactly what she told me on the phone, so they'll go ahead and pursue grants. In the meantime, we'll pursue allocating the funds for the rechinking, and if we can get the grant, then we just put the money back in the general fund, and if she can't get a grant, then we're ready to go on it. But you don't want to mess around with 200-year-old logs.
No. All right, well, we have a motion and a second to approve, so we already got it on the floor, so.
Is there any other questions?
Any other questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. So we're going to move the budget.
Do we have it?
And if we can get that on this month's budget as well. Next week, please. Item 10B, resolution Cottontown debris cleanup. Motion for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll just bring us right back to this again. Commissioner Klein asked this to be put on the agenda a couple months ago. There's a photo in here on page 103. That's the debris. It's really not a lot. A big one, or I said a mowing trailer. A little bit bigger than a mowing trailer, but pull behind your pickup truck trailer, putting debris on it and cleaning it out. Some of this actually has moved on to private property, which we did take the time to get approval of the Mr. Singleton's property, that he owns that right on the creek, next to the old Draper House and post office. And so this actually was part of that demolition project where the county was going to lose $131,000 for the demolition of these properties, we believe wrongfully. And citizens kind of were upset about that because these were buildings of historic and cultural significance and important. And so I think it was very prudent that the county commission put the brakes on that. Regardless, it still is the county mayor's under his purview to clean the junk out. That's his job. And actually, the county commission did pay for it to happen. It didn't happen. The county mayor didn't do his job. So we put it on here to ask him, send a letter to the law. And basically, you can see that was back in May, the beginning of the May meeting, that we asked the county law director, say, hey, can you send a letter to, because the county mayor wasn't here, and send a letter asking him, can he just please clean this up? And he basically sent an email back to the law director and said, well, I'm going to need a clear appropriation of funds and clear scope of work requested, and that the project exceeds $25,000. One, I mean, who in their right mind would ever think that this is going to be a $25,000 project to go clean up some junk? Literally, the three of us could go get a trailer and go do it ourselves. Again, wearing gloves and long pants so we don't go to the health department. Get a tetanus shot for free. But so a little ridiculousness. I don't understand the obfuscation here, other than the fact that we're just asking to do it. Then he sent us a memo that said, I still need approval and appropriation from the county commission with a defined scope of work for the project. Well, we'd already given a defined scope of work, asking it, and by the law director, and he didn't understand that. So we sent a resolution. Okay, well, let's do a resolution asking him to do it. And then it got pulled from the floor of the commission, saying with some ridiculous comment that we don't have authority to tell a constitutional officer what to do. Well, I beg to differ. We do. This county property we own, and that's the county commission's job, according to TCA, is to instruct and to designate and control of these properties. But the county mayor asked, and we gave it to him last month, but then the county mayor got his commissioners to pull it off. And so it still needs to be done, so here we are pulling it back on. The revised resolution does include Mr. Singleton's property, which we did not catch that last month because we were so focused on county. We all missed the fact that I'll take fault for that, of Mr. Singleton's being in here. It's basically just that debris on that parcel, which is identified, as well, if necessary, the permission to step over the property line, if there's anything on this guy's property right there, that it's county, that demolition that we've already paid for, to just clean it up. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's like Commissioner Moss said, it's like, hey, get a trailer and a couple of guys out there and just pick it up. This is no cost to the taxpayer. There should be no money involved in this. Commissioner Miller.
I mean, you know, we asked for inventory in the courthouse and they took trailers over to the courthouse and went to the dump. What's the difference?
That's a great point. I think it's just political, just people
Well, we
making
know
political.
that,
No, we have a backhoe, we have trailers, we have people. You know, there's some really important things that the public needs to know, so I want this to go on record. When the contract was signed to do the demolition of the old schoolhouse, the general store, the house behind it, and a couple other things, and the Draper house was supposed to be part of that, and these two outbuildings, which this debris is from. Okay, we stopped before they tore down the Draper house, and they were going to tear down the post office. The guy who was running the crew told J.K. Brister they were going to take down the post office. And that would have been a major error, because that was the one thing that was supposed to get moved over to where the schoolhouse got demoed.
So they were gonna tear that down.
They were going to tear down the post office. That the foreman told J.K. Brister they were gonna tear it down. So it got stopped, and if, you know, the mayor is the executor of our wishes. And so if, you know, the demolition was part of a vote that happened, that we unwittingly approved this the first month we were in budget committee. We stopped it just prior to the Draper house being torn down. Any executor or manager of the work would have said, okay, clean up what you've demolished, and then we'll figure out what the contract payment should be at the end. That's not what's happened. This debris has been laying there for almost 3 years now. And it should have been taken care of in 2022 when the demolition happened. So we've heard here tonight that this was not the mayor's problem or the mayor's fault. It is the mayor's problem. It is his responsibility. It always was, and it is today. We don't have the authority to hire people like that. We allocate money, but the money was allocated for the demolition and cleanup of the debris. So this is the mayor's job. It is his problem, and we're just asking him to be a good neighbor and take care of the mess. That's all this comes down to. Yes, we did save the county money when we stopped the demolition of the
It was about
Draper house.
$13,000.
And yeah, a bunch of money. We saved it. And my whole intent when I asked the mayor to stop the demolition was I knew we could do something about the flooding, which we have. Since we got TDOT out there through TDEC, we haven't had any floods since under that bridge or over that bridge. So I think we've proven the fact that the flooding will stop if we just maintain the creek. Those buildings are both made out of wood. The wood has not rotted or dry rotted or deteriorated. The water comes up, floods it, it goes back down, the house dry out. So those things can be salvaged if we maintain the creek. What we have to do right now is have the mayor be a good neighbor and clean up that mess, which he should have cleaned up 3 years ago.
Commissioner
So-
Jones.
So on the commission agenda last month, it had instruct the county mayor to remove debris from county-owned property. If we put this back on the agenda, I'd like to change it to per mayor's request, a resolution stating that we are appropriating permission for him to do it. Because he's asking for it in this email.
So would you like the caption, like a resolution per the mayor, county mayor's request, directing the county mayor? I mean, or,
Not directing, he's the one asking for it, so we call it what it is. He's asking for the direction on it from the commission.
well, the defined scope of work is to remove county created debris from the county property at these parcel numbers. And that, I mean, that's, you don't, can't, I mean,
No, that's fine, but I'm saying to remove the part, instruct the county mayor to, per county mayor's request.
In this packet on page 99, I need you to read the packet on page 99, not what we passed last month. Look at that.
Yeah.
We're on page, I know, but you gotta look at page 99.
The way you reworded it.
Well, it does say drafting, not
Yeah.
well instructing.
Same thing. I mean,
So what is your suggestion word-wise? Read that and provide a solution.
a resolution per the mayor's request. To have his personnel remove county created.
How about just a resolution approving the county mayor to have his personnel remove the county, since he was asking in his memo, still need approval.
There you go. There you go. I like
Instead of
that.
directing, a resolution approving the county mayor.
Yes,
So-
because he obviously wants it. He's already said he wants us to say that. I mean, to approve it.
And then the first be it resolved, would you then, your motion to amend this be, this body hereby approved the county mayor?
Yes.
To have his personnel
And in
remove county.
the
and
second, be it further resolved that
It's
the county
further-
mayor is further approved to have his personnel remove such
Or
county.
how about county mayor has further approval to?
Yes,
Or something.
yes. Yes, I like all
Since he was
that.
asking for approval, and that,
Yes.
the language there specifically.
It corrects everything I think everybody may have a problem with, so hopefully that'll pass.
And would you add utilizing the appropriations that were done in 2022 to pay for it?
No, because it's already been done.
That may already be gone or whatever. I think we just use
This
his
should cost
resources.
no money. The whole
Yeah.
point is this, why would you appropriate money? There's nothing to, it's.
Yeah.
He said it's approved.
I think it was, but it's gone, and that's 2 budget cycles ago, and I don't think we even opened that can of worms. He's got the resources to do it. He can work within his,
I mean, gosh, it's not
Own
like rocket
ability.
science. It's a couple of guys in a trailer and
Yeah.
an hour
Just
worth
like
of
they
work.
did at the courthouse.
Just like they did the courthouse.
Yep.
County mayor went to the courthouse with a trailer and county faculty.
nobody even
And
asked
they
him to do
moved
it.
stuff
They
out of
just
the
did it.
courthouse, and we didn't even know about it. Why that wasn't a big deal. This is not a big deal either.
I like those changes.
So, the caption, a resolution approving, first, be it resolved, this body hereby approves the county mayor to have his personnel removed, and the second, be it resolved, the county mayor has, or is approved to have personnel, how about that, instead of has further approval, just the county mayor is approved to have, if that makes sense. My brain's not really grammatically correct right now.
Basically, anything that says
Directed.
Directed to
Direct.
approval.
to
Approved
the
or approval.
grammatically correct version of approved.
Yes.
Alright.
That's Commissioner Jones's motion, to have a second, or his amendment. Do
Second.
we, well, first, did I make a motion? Did we make a motion? for the
Yes.
main thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that how we open discussion?
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On the main motion with those changes, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. This will go to full commission. Again. And please make sure that you have all the accompanying information from this packet, including the county mayor's memo contradicting what happened at the commission last month, photos, resolution, and the permission letter from the property owner for that parcel in the full packet, please. All right.
So you got the title of that was
Yeah.
also changed to
Yep.
approve. Okay.
All right, item C, discussion architectural as-built drawing for recovery court and sheriff department renovation, 31,000 square feet at 117 Smith Street property. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Klein had asked me to put this back on, and this goes back to Mr. Shamrock's report that they will discuss as to why this was captioned or labeled this way. So, Commissioner Klein, would you explain because you went to a meeting that I wasn't able to go to.
Right,
with,
and Scott was there.
with retired Judge Hunter, and also
Dustin was there.
Dustin, as well as Deputy Chief Tommy Greer was there.
Right.
Was anybody else there?
The other architect, Wold, 2 members of the Wold.
Wold's architects were there. Okay. So what was, if you would recap,
Well,
what this was born of the need for this?
What we did is we walked through the entire space that Judge Bland wants, or what we have given him to take over, which is about 8,000 square feet. And what several of us discovered walking through is that the walls are not where they are indicated on the original plan from, I don't know, 1970s maybe that is. And so what the Wold group concurred with me on is that before anybody can do anything, we gotta have an accurate as-built, what is actually there.
Because so many changes have occurred since the 70s.
Yeah, there are walls that aren't shown on the plan, and there are not walls that are shown on the plan. And so it's really impossible for an architectural firm to give us a price on something that their quote is based off a totally inaccurate drawing. So
what's the action item out of this committee? Just
well,
budget for approval for.
I think the action is to, and we don't know how much is the problem. Has Wold given you a price to create an as-built?
Feel free to just jump in on it.
No, okay. And I'm trying to walk through with another architect and with Scott and Dustin as soon as possible. They've been slammed, but we need to do this because I know there is some sort of a time clock ticking. We have to get quotes on doing an as-built, which should not be a horrendously expensive thing, but it's the foundation of what we're going to build an entire design on. And I think at the same time, we should, since Sheriff Craddock has full intentions of taking over that 23,000 square feet, that in the same meeting that we allocated the 8,000 to Ron Blanton, it was allocated to the sheriff's office. He's going to be wanting to do changes. Well, he doesn't know what he's changing.
Because any shortages or overages are gonna affect each other.
Right. And so we have to start with an as-built, and we need to get quotes on what it'll take to create an as-built, and then we need to make it happen.
So Scott, is I guess that first bullet point, line up with your first bullet point here. Talk about the general operations county provided the square footage for the renovation. We have that, but we don't know how we can even configure it because we don't. It's
got a rough configuration.
Yeah, but it's not anything we can approve or move
completely
forward because it's got to be have this as built done to even be legit, essentially.
Yeah.
We don't want to make mistakes of getting ahead of ourselves and getting kicked back to committee again.
Well, it'll just get really expensive because the first thing that'll happen is go, there's not a wall here.
Yeah.
Oh, this extra order is gonna cost 3 times what it would have if it would have been part of the original
This
quote.
isn't as big as you said it was. And
So is this anything to keep, I mean, can we take action now on this, or is this something we need to wait to bring back to August Gen Ops to have some options, like, because we need to keep moving?
Well, if we could get a price out of Wold, and I can get a price out of Robin Hood, he's 2 blocks from there. Then we'll be able to have 2 quotes that we can
Bring it back next month.
Bring it back next month.
All right, so I'll make a motion to keep this on old business with bringing back a quote from Wold as well as Robin E. Hood to have us look at for that as-built.
Right.
That's my motion.
Right.
You have a
Second.
Second by Commissioner Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Scott, I know, anything you wanted, I guess, about the opioid abatement committee, Commissioner Genome?
The money's been allocated to the opioid abatement committee. I mean, we've gifted that from the grant.
So the opioid, you've already voted to appropriate those funds
Yeah, that's in the
We're
budget.
just waiting on the budget to be approved.
on July 28th.
Yeah.
So So then after that, we can proceed with this in August, bring that back, as far as moving forward with the children are people. We're good to go. We can, my point being, we can bring that back on an agenda item for August. I'm gonna add, so, keep plus add.
As long as it gets approved.
Yeah, I'll just tentatively just add that we can add the children or people back on to move forward with them, because they've been good partners in working with us. All right. Move that. All right, item D is
Martin Lane.
flooding damage on Martin Lane. Commissioner Miller, I would
Preliminary
make a motion for
vote.
discussion.
So
We're just.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Commissioner Miller, floor is yours.
So on June 16th, upper northern Cotton Town, up Martin Lane area, they, according to Ken Widener and Toby Ellis, they had like 3 to 5 inches of rain just dumped on them within like 2 hours. I mean, there's issues up there. A year ago, I think May a year ago, people had to be rescued out of their homes because their homes were going underwater. There's 3 waterways that intersect just right up from Martin Lane, and there are major issues. These people need help. I mean, they just continue to flood every time that we have heavy rain. So what happened on the 16th was an actual on Martin Lane on the road. There was so much water that came through, it blew out a culvert.
And blew out the road.
Blew out the road, and a citizen reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can we get some help up here? It's horrible." So I ended up going up there, and I had called several people to go look at it, and then they actually went up and had to. They said it was a life safety issue. They closed the road down, and Highway Department did an emergency repair the next day, and
Who said it was
luckily no one got severely hurt.
Who said it was a life safety issue? The EMA and highway, or how?
Actually, our planning department
Okay.
and
Planning is involved as well.
planning was the one that I finally got to go out there the next day. And they're the ones that declared it a life safety issue, called in Highway Department. They did an emergency repair right then, but they had to close down the road because it was unsafe. So, there's still a lot of, debris out there. I mean, it's the same thing that with the other part of Cotton Town. It's just, there's clogged drains and clogged everything, bridges. Commissioner Klein and Commissioner Holmes and I took a field trip up there after our planning meeting, just right after all that transpired. And I would welcome anybody on this committee to go out there and see, you can see where the water goes, like it's obvious.
And this is on the northern, close to the White House.
It's
basically.
almost, yes.
And the
But
neighbors-
they've had so much building, and then there's another property over there that they've like cleared their land, and it's
We are the
definitely.
runoff. So this is
Yeah.
all the White House's development and construction,
Correct.
residential has caused these
Correct.
new
Coming downhill.
impacting, causing
Correct.
problems for the county.
And so I think if we maybe implemented a plan like we did with, over there in
Content.
Cotton Town, the other end of Cotton Town.
Station Camp Creek.
Yeah,
area,
Station
Bug
Camp Creek,
Hollow.
like we did with TDEC and TDOT, see if we could maybe help them get on board, or even, whoever. These people need help. It's sad. One property, they've had to literally build a fence around the front of
A
their
wall.
house. It's a wall. It's a
Retaining
fence. It's
wall
a
around
wall.
their
They had to build a
To
wall
block the water
to block the water.
that they're now getting that they weren't getting 10
Correct.
years ago.
It's probably 3
Correct.
feet tall, maybe.
So, I don't know exactly, what can be done, but we definitely need to look into it.
So you said the highway department has already done
They did the
temporary-
repair,
Is it permanent repair or temporary repair? Are they gonna think about
It was
that?
temporary when we were there.
correct. I don't know, I don't know.
They had to bring in a whole bunch of gravel. It literally blew
Blew it
out part
out.
of the road. And I don't know how, because the culvert was like a
Huge.
60-inch, it was a huge
Huge.
pipe.
It's huge.
But the amount of water that came down must have just
It was-
overwhelmed the pipe.
Was coming from so many different directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The water
And we
was just,
could
you could
just
just see
see-
where the water just came from everywhere. And so you have a lot of houses are up on top of hills, and their driveways kind of go straight down, but this is on the other side of the road where it's all down. So,
I guess my question for Mr. Law Director or the committee, would this be something that we should send back to Highway since Toby took care of it and then move from Highway to
I
Budget?
don't
or-
think that the culvert blowing out issue is, I mean, that, they're fixing that, that's done, I mean,
They're putting Band-Aids on the problem at this point.
but things need to be cleaned out, like, we need to go in and try to get
She's-
TDEC to help
she's
us
saying
in to clean out the streams.
The repair's
and
fixed, it's already done.
Yeah.
She's saying, what can we do to try to help work with TDEC and TDOT
Correct.
to do something similar to what we did at Bug Hollow? And that was by kind of members of this committee doing something outside of Highway or anybody
Yeah.
else, just because we see that it's
I
a
mean,
ongoing problem.
you know, it took them over 24 hours to repair a blown out culvert, so I think, I don't think Highway's gonna have anything to do
Do
with.
you guys want to, I mean, you had sent, I hadn't got a chance to go up there because you invited me to go up there and told me that I should go check it out, and haven't obviously had a chance to go to yet. You did send me those, I think, photos. You're going to send me some photos. So if I can get, should we keep it on business?
Sure.
I can add photos to the packet, get those from you.
Yeah.
And just so we can understand a little bit of the scope visually, and give us some time, if that sounds okay, to keep this on all business.
I don't think so.
I don't have a solution at this point.
And I know I've floated this with a few of you one-on-one, but we are rapidly approaching a point where we do need a public works department because, you know, right at Station Camp Creek Road and Liberty Creek, there's a house right on the corner there that never used to flood. A person just bought it, and it was kind of a buyer beware thing. And they've now flooded 3 or 4 times. Now, that Liberty Creek Bridge
Because of Carrollton,
is,
or
Yes.
that subdivision.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the
Back at
backside of
Carrollton,
Carrollton,
right?
yeah,
absolutely.
that bridge,
Absolutely.
I watched it. You remember our propane tank?
Mhm.
It was down there,
Really?
really.
The propane tank that was at the general store that got,
Was up in Cotton Town.
we found it.
I found it. It was down at Liberty Creek Road.
It
and
floated down
Camp
Station
Creek
Camp
Road.
Creek.
That's where it went.
It went all
We
the
wondered
way
what
down
happened
there.
to it.
Yeah, it was down there. And so, you know, the
Oh
truth
my
is,
gosh.
yeah, we've got some bridge issues that are not managing the capacity that has been increasing with development. But we also have situations like this in Martin where I don't know what caused that blowout. That pipe looked like it was plenty big for what could potentially go through it, but.
Well, the city White House, I mean, they put a moratorium on all building until they started fixing all their flooding issues from new residential.
Oh, did they?
construction. Yeah, they
You're
had,
going down some
that was like a couple months ago, but then they put a moratorium on, because things were done so poorly, and the previous administrations had approved so many residential units that White House is getting flooded out.
Right.
And in this past spring, we've had a ton of rain. This spring's been a wet year. We're gonna have a lot of hurricanes and tropical storms. I mean, we're just gearing up to November, so it's a lot more is coming. So-
Maintenance of creeks is going to become a
Well, the
requirement.
point is, White House had to put a moratorium on their own development because it's causing them problems, but we're seeing the fallout. But we don't have a solution for it now, so
No,
I don't
we
want to
don't.
keep, I mean, I say we keep this in all business without any objections, and we move this to next month.
Agree.
And with that, I have entertained one more motion. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. You got you
Doesn't
on.
connect to the main road. It's like in the middle of 2 roads. Bowling Branch does.
That's right.
Okay,
So if it's
it's
Bowling
all
Branch,
over
it goes all the way
the
out to
place.
Enduring.
25. Or is Martin
Bowling
broken up
Branch,
into
you
different
turn,
pieces?
you go down Bowling Branch, then you
Takes
turn
a
off.
couple words.
It's kind of messy.
See, Bowling Branch is the main big road that goes up, but it turns
I tried.
into Martin Lane.
Yes.
If that's what you're talking
Yes.
about.